What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden. What's going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well. I am most certainly doing well. I know we have a stream going on a little bit earlier than usual. I know I usually do these streams around 3 or 4, but, my schedule of school and classes was, decided to be mixed up and changed literally at the last second. So I'm not super pleased about it, but hey, what are you going to do? I still want to come on here and talk baseball. Mets, anything baseball related with you guys. You guys have been doing really well with the comments and questions in the chat lately. So pretty much in today's stream, it's going to be pretty basic, pretty straightforward, just Q&A type of stream. Nothing really going on in Mets news. There is a couple new things going on, but I'm sure most likely someone in the comment section is going to bring it up. Chris Bryant, and yeah, it already is. So we're going to get into that. But before we dive into that, everyone, please feel free to smash that like button. Turn on those post notifications if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about this channel. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns in regards to the Mets, please feel free to drop it in the comment section below. As always, I appreciate you guys with the huge, massive support these last couple weeks. I know with the lockout, things have been very, very quiet. There's not much to talk about in terms of the New York Mets, so I really do appreciate it. So I guess let's stop wasting any time and let's take a dive into all of this. So let's dive right into it. So I see we got a couple people in the chat already. I appreciate it. With our first commenter of the day, Kenny. What's going on, Kenny? Kenny says, should the Mets sign Chris Bryant? And, well, pretty much, I think we should just have, like, a Chris Bryant segment on this stream, because I feel like every single time I go live, it's, should the Mets sign Chris Bryant? And, I mean, it's a valid, good question. I'm not saying it isn't. Obviously, I wouldn't be against with the New York Mets going after Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant, I think, could easily suit that hole for a third baseman that the Mets haven't had in quite a while. He's a prime guy. Pretty much, if you are to sign Bryant, you're pretty much saying, okay, Brett Baty and the Mets prospects for third base are kind of going out the window, because you are not going to sign a 29-year-old, 30-year-old guy who's going to be a long-term guy and then keep a huge level guy like Brett Baty in the farm system. So that's my only thing there. So we'll see. We'll have to see. Personally, I think that's pretty much what it means. In terms of Chris Bryant, I think he'd be a great addition to this team. He's a lefty. Mets really need some nice left-handed pitching in this lineup. I think that could be superb for this lineup. He's a utility guy, so taking a look at the defensive standpoint, you can obviously throw him in left field. You could throw him in center field. You could throw him in right field. I realistically think that where you could throw him can really be something incredible. Like we said, in terms of going on to that, he's a lefty. He hits well against left-handed pitching, he hits well against fastballs, and he hits well against pitches with low velocity. Those are pretty much the three big things that the New York Mets struggled with terribly this past season. Those three things right there is what killed the Mets this past 2021 season. So we'll have to see how that turns out. I'm interested in it. In terms of a deal, pretty much the Mets have stated they're willing to go after a guy for a long-term deal, and it seems that's going to be the case. Just recently, the Mets pretty much said before the lockout they are willing and they are interested in going after a guy. They said they would like to go after maybe one or two more starting pitchers and, of course, a big bat in that lineup. And, hey, I mean, you cannot argue against that. I certainly can. I would be much for it, 100%. I think that would be massive for this team. Otherwise, should the Mets sign Chris Bryant? 100%, Kenny. Trey says, what's going on? What's going on, Trey? Ibindos, Mark, Kobe, what's going on, guys? Marco says, who should bat first, second, third, and fourth in the lineup? Well, that's a good question. In terms of who should be batting where, the lineup construction is going to be something big. We know that pretty much each day last season, there was a different lineup out each day, whether it had Alonso batting second or Nemo batting second or whatever. Point up, there was a different lineup each day, and I guess that really kind of killed the Mets. It's not like the Yankees, where the Yankees have the same lineup every day. Boone put out the same guys, batting first, second, third, all the way to the ninth spot. So I think that is one big thing that I talked about a lot during the season. And personally, as of right now, as it stands, you got another table setter in Starling Marte. But as of right now, I still want Brandon Nemo leading off. I feel Nemo is a great leadoff man. He gets on base. We all know that. Whether it's a walk, a hit by pitch, a base hit down the line, an occasional homer, or occasionally expressing some power to get an extra base hit, Nemo gets on base. I like that. You have Marte, so you can make an argument. Would you rather have Nemo or would you rather have Marte? As of right now, I would much rather Nemo. Why is that? Because Marte, he's another year older. He's another year older. So that's one thing to observe. But that's not my biggest reason is, everyone's like, oh, but, Marte stole 50-something bases in 2021. Well, I don't think he's going to be stealing that much in 2022 this season. I don't think he's stealing that much. Let's be realistic here. But as of right now, I really would not be against Nemo, Marte in the second spot. You get Nemo on, maybe Marte gets on. They could have a double steal or something. That's not bad. In terms of the third spot, call me crazy, but I want Pete Alonso batting in the third spot. The saying is now your best man in the lineup bats. Your RBI producer and your best guy in the lineup nowadays bats second or third. And I think that's true. I agree with that. Alonso is your RBI producer, whether he is batting third or second. Majority of his numbers say he plays best this past season in the second or third spot in that lineup. The second or third spot in that lineup is where Alonso performs to the best of his ability. And this is my biggest thing. So it's no secret Alonso is your RBI producer. I literally just stated that. I would really like to see Pete Alonso get an at-bat in the first inning because Pete Alonso, what is he accustomed to? Hitting home runs. Whether he's hitting 53, 37, 48, whatever. Pete Alonso is accustomed to hitting home runs. Last season, we saw it so much, and same with the Philadelphia Phillies with Bryce Harper. There were so many solo shots because they were batting fourth, and they would bat first in the second inning, and they would just hit a solo shot, 1 RBI, 1 homer, which is great. It's awesome. But my biggest thing there is that maybe if you had him bat in the first inning, he could have drove in another run or two. I can care less about RBIs and stuff like that, but point is, his stats could have been inflated. You're easily putting much more runs on the board. So I think it would be much better to put Alonso in the third spot rather than the fourth spot. And I think it's just it's simple. I would love to see that. So then I guess that comes to who would you put in the fourth spot? Because, yeah, I want Alonso batting in the first inning. Overall, I want him to get a bat in the first inning. And statistically, it's where you put your best hitter. In terms of necessarily who would be the fourth spot, well, I guess would you be switching Lindor? I don't know. Would you put, a guy like Escobar in that fourth spot? I don't know about that. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. As of right now, I really wouldn't be against it being one of those two guys I just stated. So we'll see. Good question, though. Trey says, how many arms can you trust in the New York Mets bullpen? I have a feeling Lugo will have a better season this time and can be counted on to get important innings. I agree with you 100%, man. I actually did just upload a video. Well, not just, but I uploaded a video quite recently, and it was in regards to why Seth Lugo will have a huge, I guess, resurgence, as you want to call it. And pretty much in that video, I talked about what went wrong for Lugo in 2021 and why I think he will able to have a huge bounce back. So definitely check that out if you have not already, Trey. I strongly recommend it. But in terms of how many arms you could trust, right now, Diaz is still shaky. Diaz will go out there. He'll give you 15 innings of solid baseball. And then for 10 more after that, he'll be in a different world where his slider's not on command with the strike zone. His fastball isn't looking sharp. He's getting barreled. Someone makes an error and he gets unlucky. That's really seems to be the thing with Diaz. So as of right now, my honest opinion, I think you could trust Lugo. This is the thing about trusting relief pitchers, Trey, is that relief pitchers are very, 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 very shaky. You can never trust them. They could have a good year and they could have a bad year. Look at Aaron Loup, for example. He had a phenomenal year this past season. phenomenal, historic, Cy Young caliber, all-star caliber. Before that, no one knew. I barely knew who the dude even was. I knew of him, but I couldn't tell you a thing about him. If someone asked me to come on the stream and talk about Aaron Loop, I probably wouldn't be able to say jack diddly squat about him. But the point is, relievers are so shaky. Yeah, I understand it. You'll get your Josh Haders. You'll get your Liam Hendricks. You'll get some guys. Look at Devin Williams, for example. Devin Williams had a phenomenal 2020. Listen, yeah, I don't like to judge 2020 too much. But as of right now, he has not been playing super well. So realistically, that just goes to show you how really things can change really quickly. So yeah. Otherwise, like I said, I wouldn't invest so much in relief pitchers because there's only so much you could know out of them. But in terms of guys that I trust to an extent and I'm positive for, you got Lugo. I think that's pretty obvious. I would really like to say Diaz, but I can only trust Diaz for like 10 innings. And then it'll be shaky for 10 more. So realistically, as of right now, let's look at this Mets roster right now and see like what guys we got on there. Mets roster. So let's see. Mets roster right now. We're taking a look at the active roster and see maybe there's a guy on there that will stand out. Let's take a look-see. Just stand by for 1 second so I could pull it up on my phone. All right. So as of right now, in terms of this rotation depth, you got Jake Reed. I like Jake Reed. But I'm talking in terms of trust. The only guys that I really trust in this bullpen role, I guess Seth Lugo. Trevor May, I can establish some trust in. Hopefully, his fastball doesn't get too meaty or anything like that. But I could show some trust in him. Castro, I unfortunately can't trust. Castro is the guy who will go out there and his command of the strike zone will be non-existent, and he'll just walk the ballpark. So Castro, I unfortunately can't. Diaz, I unfortunately can't. Yennsy Diaz, we haven't really seen a whole lot from him, so I don't want to say I can or can't. Sean Reed Foley, is he even still with the Mets? I guess he is. Okay. Jake Reed, still too early to say anything, honestly. Thomas Zapucki, still too early to say, honestly. Trevor Williams, you really can't say much. Yamamoto, still questionable coming back from Tommy John. Drew Smith, same thing, questionable coming back from surgery. So yeah, really, it seems as of right now, there aren't a whole lot of bullpen options you could trust. And I think coming into the season, that was, I guess, in terms of coming into the 2021 season, that was something you could say. You didn't really know how much you could trust in this Mets bullpen. 2019 was pretty much the big reason why they didn't make it to the playoffs. We saw Edwin Diaz blew 6, 7, 8 games. That would have put the Mets, 93, 94 wins if Diaz didn't blow those games. Maybe, listen, guys are going to blow games. I get that. But not as not to the extent as I'm guessing Diaz would have in his 2019. So yeah, we'll see. Kobe says, out of J.D. Davis, Jeff McNeil, and Dom Smith, who would you likely say is going to get traded away? As of right now, I'm probably going to have to say Dominic Smith. I feel like J.D. Davis, not making up excuses for him, but he was injured. He was injured this past 2021 season. He was injured. Jeff McNeil, on the other hand, is a different story. Jeff McNeil, he had a fluke. I think there was a lot of things he changed mechanically. I just don't think he worked well with Rojas. He's a guy who needs a lot of – McNeil is a guy who needs a lot of assistance with the managers and the coaching staff, and he didn't get that this past season, whether that was from Rojas, whether that was from Hugh Quattlebaum, whose hitting mentality was hit the ball on the ground and get on base, which was so stupid. I think McNeil was just kind of stranded out there for himself and kind of is thinking, okay, well, these guys don't know me. What do I do? I think the Lindor fight certainly didn't help, but I think with the right management and Buck Showalter, I really think that a veteran presence like that can really, really go and hopefully assist and can hopefully assist Jeff McNeil. I mean, that is my biggest thing to say. In terms of Dom Smith, I'm really not that crazy about him. It just comes down to, with Dominic Smith, it really just comes down to, there's nowhere, like, why waste this talent? He's a natural first baseman. That's been established. He's a natural first baseman. He's not an outfielder. His bat, okay. Oh, well, he hits well against righties or lefties. Great. That's awesome. But my biggest thing is, why waste his talent? He is a great trade piece. You could probably get so much from him, I feel. You could arguably get so much out of him. That's all I'm saying. Gallipo says, I want the Mets to sign Carlos Rodon and 2 bullpen arms, with at least one being a lefty. Yeah, I mean, if you're signing bullpen arms, one of them has to be a lefty. That's been established. You have to get a left-handed pitcher in that rotation, because you lost Loop. And, I mean, you don't really have much. You lost Rich Hill, too. Not saying Rich Hill is any better. Or, honestly, Rich Hill was pretty good. I liked him. I thought he was an adequate bullpen role. He can give you 3 to 4 solid innings of baseball. He's not a starter. But I didn't think he was that atrocious. So, yeah, otherwise, I guess we'll have to see how it goes in terms of that. But, yeah, I agree. Rodon is definitely one guy. I did make a video in regards to who the Mets should sign. But, yeah. Should we go after Frankie Montas? The only thing is, you would have to trade for him, and I really am not interested in the Mets making trades, to be honest. I would much rather the Mets go in route of free agency than trades. So, as of right now, in terms of his playing performance, I would definitely not be against it. I would just rather go in terms of free agency. Trey says, isn't it weird that Clayton Kershaw is getting older, quote unquote, but Max Scherzer is 4 years older than Kershaw, and Jacob deGrom is the same age? Yeah, you know what it is? I think it's that Kershaw has just been a prime player and has been an all-star Cy Young talent player much longer than a guy like deGrom. Obviously, he played on the West Coast, so the Dodgers. I mean, when did Kershaw make his debut? 2008. So he's been pitching much longer than deGrom. So that's the big thing. deGrom rookie 2014. He rookie 2008. So I mean, we're talking a huge gap there, pretty much. So that's obviously, I think, the big reason. But yeah, I could agree with you on the Scherzer thing too. That is interesting. What's going on, Daniel? We'll see. I know they said at first they were, then they weren't. They haven't made up their minds yet. What's your biggest worry going into this season, says Kobe? As of right now, my biggest worry going into this season for the New York Mets is probably staying healthy. I know it's a cheap excuse, but I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Probably clutch hitting. I would like to see more clutch hitting. There were so many times where runners were stranded in scoring position. Runners were stranded on base. We saw so much of that this past season. So that would be my biggest thing, my biggest worry, and something for the Mets to be cognizant about going into the 2022 season. My apologies, is being able to hit with runners in scoring position. That was so many games last year where the Mets lost by 1-run games, and it's just so foolish. It really was. The Mets lost by 1-run games where those could have been avoided. I mean, there were guys. I don't know. I have no idea anymore. Daniel says, do you think Cano still has some gas left in the tank? Yeah, I mean, he's been popping out in the Winter League or Dominican, whatever league it is that he's playing in now. I saw he had an RBI triple the other night and a 2-run RBI single. So he still has some stuff going. He still has some stuff left in the tank. In terms of what I would want to do with Cano, if anything, it's a bench role. I think he could try and help some of this team out a little bit. My biggest issue is I don't know how much the team is going to respect him. He got caught with the Mariners. That was with the Mariners, but he cheated with the Mets. I believe it was most likely with that in 2019 when he was recovering. So that's a little bit of a salty taste in some of these guys' mouths. I don't know how much they'll want to respect him and be willing to work with him. Gallup says, as much upside as this would bring, I would personally go after a good arm and eat innings. like Mcneil, because there is already injury / depth concern with DeGrom and Scherzer. Yeah, no, that's 100% true, man. As of right now, I agree with you. I think that's a very good point. Rotation depth is as much as I would like. Everyone always says, I want to see a rotation for this Mets team sitting down in AAA. I want to see, I'm tired of seeing the Corey Oswalds and these knuckleheads, but I want to see like guys that can go out there and give you a solid 4 or 5 innings of baseball just sitting in AAA who could be called up like a taxi squad, whether you have 3 or 4 guys, because it seems coming off of last season, pitching depth, you could have 7 pitchers. They had DeGrom, they had they have last year. Jesus Christ, they had DeGrom, they had Carrasco, they had Wheeler, they had Stroman, they had Peterson, they had Lucchesi, they had Yamamoto. All of those guys got hurt so quickly. So quickly, those guys got hurt. So yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to see how that goes. Daniel says, who is your favorite prospect? As of right now, I'm probably gonna say, I guess, Francisco Alvarez. Yeah, probably Francisco Alvarez. Jack says, so what's the deal with the black jerseys? So yeah, so pretty much the deal with the black jerseys is they wore them for the last 5 home games of the 2021 season. And I'm guessing in order to have a jersey part-time or full-time as like an alternate or whatever they do, you have to pretty much have a deal with the MLB, and I'm guessing they have to have permission from the MLB to wear the jerseys for a certain amount of time. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work. I'm guessing they'll do the same thing going into next season, where they are going to wear the jerseys for the last 5 home games, and then I'm guessing they'll get it by 2023, I guess. Kobe says, who will become the next ace of baseball after DeGrom? That's a good question. As of right now, I mean, it seems like DeGrom is most likely going to be, it seems like DeGrom is really the ace of this rotation for quite a while. Yeah, guys, let's try to keep the chat baseball, please. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, it pretty much seems like DeGrom is going to be the ace of this rotation for quite a while. I think it's pretty solid for the most part. And in terms of guys, I mean, you got some young guys. There's a lot of pitchers for the most part tend to, I don't know how you could say it. A lot of pitchers for the most part, in terms of, how do I say this? In terms of a lot of minor league pitchers and prospects, they don't always turn out to be. There's so many guys. When was the last pitching prospect that actually turned out to be who he was? Garrett Cole in 2011. I mean, besides that, I mean, Strasburg. And then we're going on a huge difference. Just give me 1 second, guys. I just want to pull something up. All right, sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to pull it up. Yeah, so it was 2011 then. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's kind of hard. I mean, you have some young guys. I mean, the Marlins have a solid rotation depth of young guys in there. I mean, the Tigers, obviously, I think Casey Mize is definitely one guy. I've been very huge on Casey Mize. Yeah, I mean, in terms of guys, it's kind of tough because pitching prospects, it's not like pitching at the minor league depth is just at a completely different level than pitching at the major league depth, and that's just what I can't 100% guarantee. So we're gonna have to see how that goes. Trey says, would a 5 pitching rotation help going forward with this previous medical? It seems not. I mean, like I said, 2021, that was not the case. And yeah, so like I said, I think you're gonna have to go 6, 7, have 2 or 3 guys that could give you a solid amount of innings pitched sitting down in AAA. Sports fan, what's going on? Sports fan says, I love Rodon. A rotation of DeGoat, Mad Max, Rodon, Cookie, and Walker is legendary. Let Mcneil and Peterson develop like Corbin, Burns, and Woodruff as relievers. That actually is a good thing. That actually is a good point you bring that up, because the Brewers did do that. So that actually isn't the worst thing. You put these guys in a bullpen role and just try to warm them up a little bit. Give them, try to wiggle their way through. I don't know. I think that is an interesting thing. In terms of some of these guys, like David Peterson, I will tell you this. David Peterson was rushed through the minor leagues. He was rushed. He didn't spend much time down there, and then he was just called up quickly because of injuries. Same thing with Tyler McGill. Same exact thing with McGill. I'll give McGill props. He tremendously did a phenomenal job. McGill did a phenomenal job being called up and just coming out of the pressure and just doing what he needed to do. So, I mean, I give him massive props. Same for David Peterson. It's questionable. Hopefully McGill can be a consistent pitcher like he was for his first half. In the second half, he got a little roughed up. I get that. That's okay. But my biggest thing is that McGill and Peterson are able to fully perform to the best of their ability going ahead in the 2022 season. I think that is the biggest thing right now. Daniel says, I believe Rojas overused the bullpen. That's why I feel the bullpen was ineffective. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the bullpen management was very shady, very poor. He didn't really understand much of how to work with the bullpen. He constantly did this, with the righty on lefty stuff. That was really big for him. And yeah, otherwise he just was not able to, I guess, perform his job. I mean, like I said, bullpen roles are so shady and, shaky, my apologies, but it just seems he was too focused on this lefty on righty shenanigans. With the analytics, he completely ignored. I mean, with giving guys rest, whether Lugo can only pitch, an inning again, 2 games or something like that. That was so stupid. I really didn't understand that. But yeah, we'll see. Marco says, if you could take any former Mets player from any year and put them on the team. Ooh, that's a good question. Ooh, in terms of if I were to take any player. Ooh, so let's think. Right now, the Mets need pitching and they need third base depth. Guy, honestly, I think it's pretty clear. Catching depth would be nice too. I'm going to say 2007 David Wright. 2007, 2008 David Wright. Those were his 2 best years, in my opinion. That's what I'm going to say. From the defensive standpoint, you need a third baseman, and from the offensive standpoint, same exact thing. Ruben says, any news on Conforto? Pretty much no. Doesn't really seem to be much going on with Conforto. It seems as of right now, Michael Conforto wants that 250 plus, it seems, and the Mets, I don't think, are willing to give him that, to be honest. They gave him the qualifying offer. He rejected it. I don't know. Question is, what is the future lay for Michael Conforto? Probably a lot, just not for the Mets. It could be for a team like the Phillies, maybe like the Padres or something. So we'll see. LFGM, absolutely. Shoot, I lost my comment spot. Damn it. I think I was right here. Baseball's Mayor says, can the Mets go after Kyle Schwarber and put him as DH and can attempt to put, I'm assuming you mean Nelson Cruz as DH? As of right now, I would personally go, can the Mets get Kyle Schwarber and put him as DH? Well, Nelson Cruz, we're talking 45 years old. I'm not really, Mets are done with that veteran stuff. I would much rather Kyle Schwarber as a DH only. Defensively, he's terrible. He's not good defensively. I don't want to risk him in the outfield. He's terrible at first base with the Red Sox. Plus, you got Alonso there, and even if Alonso gets a day off or something, I still wouldn't even do it. But I wouldn't be against the Schwarber as a DH only. Kobe says, I saw the Mets are likely considering pursuing Bryant. Could this mean Chapman or J-Ram is likely? It could. It definitely could. I I think as of right now, those are both trading opportunities where Chris Bryant is more free agency. So it really just depends. Are the Mets willing to go for a short-term guy? Because it seemed like a short-term guy would be like Josh Donaldson, or in this case, Eduardo Escobar. You give him 2-3 years. You wait until Batty's fully developed, even at the major leagues, until he's fully developed, and then he's your long-term third baseman. Where if the Mets go after a guy like Chapman, like Bryant, like J-Ram, or another young third base guy, then it seems the Beatty window is kind of out the window. Unless you could always put him in left field or right field 100%, but it seems the odds are going down. Trey says, are you a fan of the designated hitter? So before this season, I really wasn't. Like a year ago today, I probably would say I am against the DH. But pretty much what happened was, we really saw the issue with DeGrom, which really changed my thinking on the DH role. Pretty much, it's not 100% factual, but it's possible that DeGrom got some of his injuries from swinging the bat. We saw it. He was raking at the dish. So when I saw when those rumors came out, I was like, okay, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have pitchers hitting. And then you can go back to 5 years ago when Adam Wainwright tore his ACL, running to first base on a ground ball. You could be talking about so much more, so many guys. Who's the guy from the Diamondbacks, a young guy with relatively long hair and glasses? Forgot his name, but he also hurt himself behind the plate. Did this past season. So it just goes to show you, really, have a DH. I think it'll give managers much more flexibility, especially now, in terms of lineup adjustments through games. Like if you take out a pitcher, you don't have to do this whole lineup construction and go through your bench. It'll be much easier because Rojas managed the bench terribly last season. So I think that could really help out this Mets team quite a bit. Yeah, Nelson Cruz is what I figured. LFGM, absolutely. Craig Kimbrell to the Mets, says Cal. That's a possibility. My only worry when it comes to Craig Kimbrell coming to the Mets is he going to struggle in that eighth inning role? Obviously, last year he was with the Cubs. He was elite in the first half. He was the closer. And then he went to the White Sox across town, and he was the setup man in the eighth inning, possibly seventh inning, because they have Liam Hendricks. So, obviously, I think that move was mainly for the postseason. Sadly, it didn't work out. But my question is, his numbers weren't as appetizing and weren't as good compared to his ninth inning and closing stuff. It's the same thing with Brad Hand. Is he going to be the shenanigans with, I have to close the game? I have to close. If he has his numbers in the eighth inning in non-save situations, the 4-out saves are not that great. So that's my only issue with getting Craig Kimbrell. Unless he's down and he's capable and he says he's willing to work, then sure. LFGM, absolutely. Alex, what's going on, brother? Sorry. Alex says, hey, Hayden, I'm a huge Tigers fan, but I respect what the Mets have done. What moves can the Tigers make this offseason? So, what moves can the Tigers make? So, pretty much, I think it's obvious they got Baez. I think we all know that. So, you got a shortstop. So, that's fair. Tigers, I believe, will be over 500. I think they will be a 500 and plus ball club next season. They finished with an above 500 record in the second half. They had a but they had a much better season than what was expected. They have a lot of their prospects already. They're going to be called up, and they already are. They have a great rotation as of right now. We got AJ Hinch, that manager, knows what he's doing. I like the odds. So looking at it, so far this offseason, they got Eduardo Rodriguez, so some pitching depth. I like it. They got Javier Baez, shortstop, great offensive guy, provide some speed. I like it. Obviously, like Merlin Full kind of just pointed out in the comment section below, Baez's numbers will go down. Well, no, the home runs will go down, but the triples and the doubles will probably go up. So I like home runs, so I probably will be sad. But maybe Baez will be happy because his average and all that stuff is still going up. But yeah, I mean, looking at the Tigers roster right now, yeah. So they got Eduardo Rodriguez. That's been established. They got him. Solid move, really big move. They need some, to an extent, non-rookie pitching experience in that rotation. You got Baez, that's great. Their rotation is okay. I mean, you got Tariq Skubal, Eduardo Rodriguez, that's solid. Casey Mize, I'm a big Casey Mize fan. I love what he's doing so far. Ground ball pitcher with Mize. If he could develop a little bit more in his cutter and the fastball, I think that could be good for him. His cutter is nasty. Try using it a bit more. You got Tyler Alexander. You got Matt Manning. You got Spencer Turnbull, who's coming back from Tommy John, so hopefully he could be developed and get back to his old self. You got Gregory Soto in the bullpen. Michael Fulmer, former New York Met, he's kind of a Seth Lugo role. He could start a couple games. He could be a bulk guy. Kyle Funkhauser, another young guy. So it seems that their pitching is to an extent good. Maybe some more veteran experience in the rotation and bullpen would be nice. In terms of catching, I mean, they got Tucker Barnhart, solid, great defensive catcher. In terms of their infield, like I said, you got Baez. I don't know if they're going to go after Correa, but as of right now, you got Miggy at first. You got at second base, probably Jonathan Schoop. At short, you got Baez. At third, you got Jeimer Candelario. If you get Correa, maybe you move Correa to third. I'm assuming he'd be willing to. He has the range, he has the velocity, and he has the accuracy to play third. And then maybe you move another guy to the bench. So whether you have Baez at short, Correa at third, Schoop at second, or Candelario at second, and then maybe you move maybe Schoop or someone could play first base if Miggy's at full-time DH. In the outfield, I think they need some outfield work. Derek Hill, solid defensively, but terrible with the bat in the batter's box. Akil Baddoo, I mean, for a dude who's never played A-ball, did pretty good. Victor Reyes, Des Cameron, I really have nothing to say. Maybe some outfield would be nice. Otherwise, yeah, I think outfield would be like the biggest thing in my opinion for the Tigers as of right now. But that's a good question, Alexander. I appreciate that. Trey says, when do you think the lockout will end? Well, as of right now, I think the lockout, my gut is telling me the lockout is probably, I think spring training will be delayed, but I feel the season will start on time. I think the lockout could end maybe, I think the lockout will end like February 15th. Random day there. Does Robinson Cano prevent the Mets from signing Kyle Schwarber? Well, you have to eat up that $80 million, so yeah. Financially, it would, but in terms of him playing, it really wouldn't. Unless you do have Cano as, well, Schwarber would never be a bench role unless you're talking about the DH. So it could. David says, any player from any year, Piazza would be a major upgrade. Yeah, I think David's talking about the question that someone asked before. I think it was Trey or Sports. I don't know. Someone asked that. Yeah, David Wright, 2007, 2008 would really be it for me. Sports fan says, will Taijuan Walker be able to sustain success over a full season? Yeah, I think so. I just think if he doesn't get tired and fatigued and worn out and that stuff, I think he'll be fine. The innings pitched has really not been the best for him, so that's why I think he needs to get acclimated to pitching as much, pitching harder. So we'll see. Roberto, what's going on, brother? He says, Uncle Stevie and the Mets ain't going to sign Bryant. They'd rather go and sign Suzuki, and that way they'll have a good outfield combination. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, like I'd agree with you 100%. I think outfield and pitching is the big two. The Mets have enough infield. You can make a whole case for infield. You have Alonso at first. You could put Escobar at second. You could put Mcneil at second. You could put Cano at second. At shortstop, you have Lindor. You could put Escobar there on days off, whatever. At third, you got J.D. Davis. You got Escobar, maybe even Cano. You got some bench roles like Guillorme. You have a lot of depth in the infield. If anything, it's too overcrowded, the infield. I agree. Outfield is what I would like. And Kurt Suzuki saying that he's willing is a good sign. But I think he'll come to the MLB, probably not the Mets. But, hey, we'll see. Gallipo says, should the Mets focus on free agents or trades that involve minor leaguers being sent away? Yeah, I'm down to free agency. I don't really want the Mets to do trades. If you're going to do trades, do it like how you did it last offseason, like getting like the, Khalil Lee, like you're trading away, like a bullpen arm and you're getting 2 prospects in return. Because as of right now, the farm system isn't that great. We're ranked. The Mets are ranked 22nd. Yeah, you have like 5 guys in the top 100, but that's it. If the Mets and Cohen and this administration, wants to be like the East Coast Dodgers, the Dodgers have 25 guys. Not literally, but being facetious, they have like 25 guys that are elite and available that teams would trade for. So if you build a farm system, it could make you more successful because you'll have more pieces to trade for and you could get better guys. LFGM, absolutely. Daniel says you should create a video and send it to Rob Manfred. I should. Baez is gonna, like I read that before. Daniel says, when do you think Mets is gonna sign Pete Alonso to a long-term contract and how much? So I'm hoping he's arbitration ready 2023. So there's no rush. I would probably next offseason, I would say, because I would like the Mets to do it now for Nemo, because after 2022, Nemo will be a free agent. So I'd rather get Nemo out of the way, because just in terms of calendar-wise, it's much easier. Obviously, player-wise, it's Alonso. But Nemo is set to be a free agent 2022. Alonso isn't set for arbitration until 2023. So Nemo, in terms of calendar-wise, it makes sense to do him first. Obviously, if you're talking player-wise, it's Alonso, but it's going off with the calendar. I would say Alonso, with all that's going on this offseason, just do it next offseason. And I think you can give 7-8 years, 225. I think as of right now, maybe throw in a fair amount of incentives and bonuses. If you hit 35 home runs, he gets this much. If he wins the home run derby, he gets this much extra. If he can have 100 RBIs, he gets this much. Throw some incentives in there because, that drives guys. Trust me. And Baseball's Mayor says LFGM. And I agree with you, man, 100%. So if anyone else has any more comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I know we had a great stream. I know I did the stream a little bit earlier. Usually I do these streams around 3 or 4. But, with my class schedule being messed up and everything, I usually like to do streams anywhere from 2 to 4. So we're really just going to have to see where that goes with my class schedule. In terms of Mets news right now, there isn't a whole lot going on. As we stated, that they said that the Mets came out. They said they want to sign two big more assets to this team. And realistically, I think that is going to be the case. And I'm hoping so it is. So we're going to have to see. Merlin Fool says, should the Mets go after Kershaw? I wouldn't be against it. I think you have to be aware, though, if anything, I'd like it to be a short-term deal. I'm talking a year or 2. Because as of right now, Kershaw has that elbow and forearm issue, whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be the only question with Kershaw. Do you want to add another guy to this rotation that's going to be worrisome? In terms of his player performance, he's fine. He's elite. I think he's solid. He's up there in age. Maybe not what he used to be, but he's still a solid guy. The postseason, I think, we'll see how he does in the postseason if the Mets get there with him. But, we'll have to see. Mets should consider maybe Joe Kelly or Hunter Strickland. Well, the Mets had Hunter Strickland, and they didn't really like much from him. I'm not crazy about Strickland. Joe Kelly, I wouldn't be against. Solid bullpen depth. Like I said, there's not much to say when it comes to bullpen guys, unless it's whether it's the walk rate or the command of the strike zone or the pitches they have or how they do in certain situations. Bullpen guys are so streaky. I wouldn't be against the Mets getting Joe Kelly. I know that everyone loves him because of the meme with Carlos Correa. LFGM, absolutely. CJ, what's going on? He also says, in addition, Mets should sign Strickland or Colome. I think Colome is with the White Sox. I don't know where he is, actually. Strickland was... Yeah, okay, fair. Let's look at Strickland. And my mouse died. How great. Let's look at Hunter Strickland, actually. Why not? Give me 1 second, guys. Hunter Strickland. Let's see what Hunter Strickland did this past season for the Mets. For the Brewers. Oh, yeah, he was the guy that fought Harper. That's right. How did I forget? I was gonna say because the Mets had him, and I don't know. I'm guessing they weren't super interested in him. Let's see. Give me 1 second, and I will pull up his information on Baseball Savant. Yeah, I mean, Strickland, like I said, the bullpen is one big thing that I think the Mets are definitely going to have to be cognizant about. Pretty much for the most part, the rotation really got worn out really bad last season, and then it suffered to the bullpen because they had to pick up the extra slack. Merlin Full says, can Colin McHugh be an option? Certainly. I actually do like Colin McHugh, to be honest with you. I did have him on fantasy for a little bit. Taking a look at Colin McHugh, I think he's more like another Seth Lugo role where you could put him in for a solid, 3-2 innings or so. He could even arguably be a starter. I believe he was drafted by the Mets, I believe. Call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure he was. I mean, yeah, looking at a Savant, I mean, besides the fastball, I mean, his stats are, I mean, that combination of the slider and cutter is great. He limits barrels. The exit velocity is low. That's always a benefit. I mean, the contact, the hard hit rate. I mean, yeah, I definitely see why. The 2017 Rick Porcello, not bad. Yeah, I wouldn't be against it. Like I said, in terms of relief pitchers, I can't come on here and talk about them all day because they're so streaky. There's only so much you could seriously get out of them. But as of right now, I guess, yeah, it wouldn't be the worst option. Kenny, what's going on? Kenny says, really good thoughts, my friend. Can I find out? I'm just going to say, how can I find out when you are on next? I appreciate it, Kenny. Yeah, definitely. If you want, subscribe and turn on the post notifications, and you will definitely know. I don't have an assigned time for when I do these streams. Usually, it really depends. Usually, I do them around 2, 3, 4 o'clock. But yeah. Yeah, Alex Colome is a free agent. Mets fan, what's going on? Stabler in here. Love you in Oakland, bro. Trey says, absolutely loving Cohen as our owner. We'll spend whatever it takes to win a version of Steinbrenner. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, if you guys do have any more comments, questions, and concerns, please feel free to drop it below. Otherwise, probably going to end the stream here. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the stream as always. I know right now with the Mets, there isn't really a lot going on. It sucks. Trust me. I feel ya. But yeah, otherwise we're really gonna have to see how it goes. Like I said, with the with the lockout. As of right now, they were supposed to have a meeting today, but then turns out it was fake news, so they didn't. I think they are planning to have a meeting this week, so that's good. I mean, 3 meetings in 2 weeks, it's pretty good. I will take it. Yeah. Otherwise, that's all we're gonna have to do. Yeah, Hunter Strickland definitely. Yeah, because you're a Cardinals fan. That's right. Yeah, so I do appreciate everyone for tuning in. Please, everyone, if you can, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, subscribe to the channel if you are not already. We got a lot going on in terms of, I guess, the Mets coming ahead in the next couple weeks, the next couple months. Let's end this stupid lockout. Let's end it. I really hate it. It sucks. So we'll say. Yeah, otherwise, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. LFGM, all that great stuff. Till next time, baseball fans, see ya.